Welcome back to my Crazy Hair channel. I think I'm this one. I'm going to name my channel now. Crazy Hair for a middle-aged armchair quarterback politician. Okay. Crazy Hair. Today we're going to be looking at something that really is not a shocker at all. If you look at it, we're like 25 days away from November 5th. Today is October 10th, 2024. Let's be straight. We're all hypocrites. When it comes to polling and who's going to be the favorable to win in an election, let's just put our our bullshit aside. As an American, most Americans do not really care about politics whatsoever. I've kind of put it out there that most Americans only care about taking care of their families, taking care of themselves. But there's this one key factor that nudges everybody in America, and when it comes to affecting their daily lives, and that's politics. I mean, government is supposed to be about helping people. And when you talk about helping people, what are you really talking about? You're supposed to be talking about everybody. But our crazy constitution and framework kind of is like a mixture of Schrodinger's cat as well as Pavlov's dogs studies. It's kind of a mixture of those two hair-brain ideas. One aspect, if you were like a strict constitutionalist, what the fuck that means? The framework was sort of like extremely vague on how to govern the people. And this is an experiment that their forefathers put together. The thing about politics is that people are not set in civics. They're just not, especially in America. They want nothing to do with the political situation whatsoever. A lot of times, you go in the past, they say there was always somebody that was an authoritarian. Whoever was most wealthiest had the most support, bought favor, and was be able to govern how big the community, the city state, or the empire was. And a lot of times authoritarianism is like the equivalency to burnout. You think about Napoleon and his quest to reinvent the Roman Empire from a failed monarchy that was supposed to be a socialist, egalitarian society against the bourgeois. There was a thing called the Reign of Terror, in which basically anybody that had anything to do with the nobility, their heads were lopped off. Go figure. If you're going to be part of the bourgeois, you got to be willing to be a target to have your head cut off. Napoleon, after the death of Robespierre, because Robespierre started to mess around in a way that infuriated the egalitarians, their equals. I don't know what that was called back then in France, but it got to a point where he was in control of a list of people who were supposed to be scheduled to be executed. Then he actually overstepped the bounds and started attacking the parliamentary of a burgeoning small democracy in France. After Louis XVI, Marie Antoinette, how this relates, I'll show you in a second. What Robespierre did was he pissed off the wrong people. In the same way, Trump pissed off the wrong people. And I'm saying this with authority. The ads are now more pungent now, to a point where lies are trying to beat the truth, and names are being called now. When you call out names, usually this is a sign that you might end up losing. But I'm thinking that the Harris and Trump's election should be a reminder of what democracy should not be. What's on the line? This thing called Project 2025. It is a disaster about taking apart the Constitution and pretty much saying we, the rich folk, put our ideas over the peasant class, the serfs, the working poor, the homeless, the minorities, legal migrants, illegal migrants. For years, the right wing of politics has made it so impossible for states that it became a generation and a generation for the last 40 to 50 years of blaming Democrats for all the ills in society. What happened back in the 1950s and 60s was a burgeoning belief the government just got way too big. So this idea that Ayn Rand put out, I have no idea what her story is. So I read a little bit about her biography, but in the end, she had to take a handout because she was poor. But by the end, she lived a life of luxury all her life, living under society under the Lenin and Stalin regimes in the Soviet Union before she moved, I do believe, to England or the United States and published something along the lines called Atlas Shrugged. How is that important? It's the idea of the belief that everybody's predestined to either greatness or better luck next time, Charlie. Now that's what the right wing believes. There's got to be winners, there's got to be losers, and there is no in between. I've been watching the ads constantly, and they're just really just like mudslinging at the very worst. So I'm getting a little sick and tired of vote for me, vote for me, vote for me, and vote for me. This candidate's bad because of that candidate is bad because of whatever. You get sick of it. You and I can relate to the fact that we do not like politics on a daily basis. I, on one hand, have watched the Democratic Party sort of just kind of try to become like the Republican, what you call Republican light. And that did not work. Now you got somebody that Harris could have got Gavin Newsom as vice president, but she went directly to Minnesota to a person by the name of Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. Now, you talk about somebody that's very motivated to take his plan, his framework, his ideas, his agenda, and be able to influence Kamala Harris. Now, Kamala Harris might just use him as a patsy and everything else, and that just doesn't really matter to them. To wait till after the election, then you can talk about the soups and nuts. But we're looking about who's going to win and who's going to lose. If Kamala wins, chances are she's going to take Tim Walz and his agenda and just throw it into the wastebasket. That's fine. But her administration can do what she wants to do. But as for context, might be a wise idea to shit can Walz. He could be the next president of the United States in 2028 really easily. If there was like a dummy poll put up right now, Tim Walz surpasses Harris, Vance, and Trump. And Trump is like way at the bottom of the popularity contest. Who would have think? I really like Kamala, but look at this guy that she's got. He's not the best looking guy in the world. He's not a Marine, but was a National Guardsman. And blah, blah, blah. And he's done some really good things in the Senate and Congress and so forth and so forth and so forth. That he's done so much good, it made national headlines in the last 2 to 3 years between 2020 and to today for the state of Minnesota. Now, the California Democrats, the Pennsylvania Democrats, and the New York Democrats are looking at this and just saying to themselves, how the hell did that happen? A soft-spoken Midwesterner was able to relate from Nebraska, moved to Minnesota, was part of the Nebraska National Guard, transferred to the Minnesota National Guard, did his, from 82 to 2004, something like that, and decided to put his hand in the ring and become a politician. Fine and dandy. This guy's kind of squeaky clean to everybody else in that. And everybody's just scratching their heads. Why is a squeaky clean politician who's done everything correct be part of this alliance with Kamala Harris? The answer is simple. We want to win. She does not have to put up a really good campaign. All Trump has got to do is just keep shooting himself in the foot, day in and day out. All she has to do is point out a few things here and there, put some substance and policy in the next 3 weeks, and it's be a clear factor. And this is where we're going to the polls right now. I said all of that to get to this. If you're not popular and you're in government, chances are your constituents are going to say, go to hell, get bent, get the fuck out. Reasonable. Hey, I'm taking all this corporate money. Look at me. I don't care about your vote. Well, oops, it's time for me to campaign. You know, all those rich ducking, all that money. For what? A lot of them trying to turn those campaign coffers into money-making deals, going to consulting and contracting firms that work with the United States government, get the bids on the contract, and be able to leech off the American tax dollar. To me, great. They're willing to do that. Maybe the will of the people don't matter to them. Once you voted in, chances are if you're an incumbent, you're not getting out. There are only special situations where you who have been in that seat for such a long time that we need to change. So let's dive into the Pew Research. As I was looking at the Pew Research, according to this, as of October 10th, it's not looking good because basically the Pew Research is kind of a very classy, very professional, kind of unbiased. And I'm going to read this report. This is according to the Pew Research. This is going to read this article. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Most voters say Harris will concede and Trump won't. If defeated in the election, 66% of voters say that the threat of violence against political leaders and their families is a major problem in the country. The presidential race between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump continues to be deadlocked among all registered voters. And with less than a month until the election, the gross share of voters, 86 say it's not clear who will win on November 5th. Okay. Now, I have a problem with that. You're talking about 86% registered voters. So what happened to the other 14%? Oh, those are the independents, the ones that are undecided. Guess what? If you're an independent voter, especially if you're a woman, and you did not like Roe versus Wade, chances are 30% of those independents are going to side with the Republicans, and the rest of the 70% is going to side with Kamala Harris. Now, if you're a young woman who's experienced issues with reproduction, pregnancy, and everything else like that, chances are you will find out that their needs are not being met. And medical issues aside, you can create a trust issue between the doctor and the patient. So, what am I trying to say? Now, I'm looking at the latest polls from September 30th up to October, I want to say 7th. Right now, the latest I'm seeing in the 538, Project538.com poll, if it was a popular vote, I think Kamala Harris is going to come on top. I mean, between I'm looking at the 538 done. And what they did is they compiled up all the averages on a daily basis. And from one day to the next, or one day to the end of the week, however they set it up, however the other pros do, like Coefficient, Act Vote, YouGov, Tipsos, let's see here, Comments and Reuters, Redfield, and what Walton Strategies, uh, Morning Consult, Yahoo News, Center Square, Signal, I'm looking at the sample size. And if I did my calculations of all these polls from September 30th all the way up to, I believe, October 6th, I'm looking at this average, and according to 538, and based on the sample size and everything else like this, I'm looking at Morning Consult on October 1st and 3rd. They got Harris at 50% over Trump's 45. And there's going to be like a positive negative 3%, which still means Harris still comes out on top at 3%. And if we go up to Big Village, a sample size of 755, I don't know what RV or LV or I'm going to say left voters, right voters. My gosh. I'm looking at the polls. And 1% and 2%, 2% respectively to Kennedy, Stein at 1%, West at 1%, and Oliver at 1%. They're pretty much taking votes away from Trump. That's what this is what this poll is suggesting, because those independent voters are going to put their energy into these four candidates over Harris and Trump. And I just cannot fault voters who do not want to see Trump ever again. He's done. He's finished. He's old. He's obsolete. Their words, not mine. Even though I think that way at times. But I do think what's happening is a lot of people that voted in 2016 and 2020, more of the MAGA based voters have seen something in 2020 and 2022 that has said, we're not benefiting. If they're not benefiting from the promises of Donald Trump, what's the point of supporting him? So when it comes to a lot of policies, the policies that the Republicans don't support are the same ones that the American electorate values. And where am I going with this? You can name call all you want, but if you don't have a good plan, and Kamala does, and she's got herself a good support crew, plus she's got campaign money in her coffers to go and possibly secure her position on November 5th as Vice President Kamala Harris to President of the United States elect. So in that period of time, things need to fall in line as like the plans do for her, the Democrats got to outperform in Congress as well as the Democrats. They need to outshine and have more progressive candidates in the electorate system to combat the systemic problem of favoritism and nepotism and moneyisms. So I don't want to approach my congressman or senator and say, hey, what gives? What happened to the mall? Or what has happened to that? And they say, gee, golly gosh, I don't know. But at the same time, when they put on that act, they're pocketing the difference that has been on the cut. They've been on the cut for such a long time that corruption becomes second nature. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen in Washington, and one of them happens to be Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom. You know, Gavin Newsom is the president, is the governor of California. I really don't know what's going on in California, and I don't really care. This is mostly a federal issue that we need to discuss. The thing about Kamala is she's playing her hand to her strengths. And when you do that, you can outmaneuver and outplay Trump time and time again. Because he's been caught in so many dang lies, it becomes a second and third language to a point where you can read his lies from his mind. That's how bad Trump is incognitively. So, what am I saying? I don't think Trump should be in office. But a lot of people are saying in those polls so that they're much of his dead heat. I'm seeing +4, +5, and many of those research data research group of Project 538, they've done their homework. They've done the homework for you. You can look at it and respond to it. But who in the days and age is going to publish something in Playboy magazine about a story of how bad America is in 2025? That being said, I have to be quite frank with all of you. If you see this, don't let this go viral. There's a lot of things I'm ashamed of, to tell you the truth, that my credibility is nothing more than a wannabe armchair quarterback for Northwestern. Why I say Northwestern? That's a story for a different day. Think about wanting to have somebody in your place to govern. What's that? The tale of two. What's that? The Tale of Two Cities. Richard Price, the Prince, was led to the gallows. And had his head cleaned straight off. because this other person, I'm just paraphrasing, has been looked on with respect and honor, royalty, and everything else like that. And what I'm thinking is this: chances are there is no chance. I'm starting to fall asleep, which is a good thing. Anyways, I'll just play with this. I'm cautiously optimistic that Harris is going to really win. And according to Reuters Project 538, Harris has got the election by a +4 or +2. I don't know which, I don't really care, as long as they reach that margin. So, best of luck to you this coming election. I will be more than willing to talk about the election even more and about Pew Research. And I have to be frank, it's not your typical company, to say the least. Sorry about that.